Can you hear me? See, the first thing is that I'm a bookworm. In fact, I used to get beaten up when I was in my school because I used to read storybooks more than my textbooks. So I was always into this, and I was the naughtiest girl in my school. Used to sit in the last bench and read storybooks while my teachers were teaching maths, history, and all those boring topics for which I had no interest at all. But anyway, you know, Indian parents, they forced me, cajoled me somehow. You have to do engineering, you have to get on in life and all that. So I bowed down to their demands basically, and then I graduated, post-graduated, did a lot of things. So what happened is that his quirks was that he always wanted to, you know, I had to tell him a story before he would eat, you know. So and every day, how many stories I can get. So what I used to do when he was going to school, and CID was his favorite. So what I used to do is whenever he used to go to school, I used to write something about. I invented a detective called Vikramrana, and I used to write something about Vikramrana. So, and then he liked it so much, and after I finished the story, he said, "Mother, why don't you publish it?" And I said, "Oh, who will read my stories?" So what I did was I self-published in Amazon ebook, and I printed 100 copies. And then he continued his journey and now I've written up to 8 books. And people, whenever there's a delay in releasing a Vikramrana book, people call me or they write to me and say, when is the next Vikramrana coming? So that is how my writing journey started, and I'm pretty happy where I'm going right now.
Yourselves to writing. Yours is crime and yours is human relationships, romance. What attracted you about these genres, and what are the inherent challenges of taking, even as you may be drawn to them, what are the challenges that you face while writing about these genres?
So, as I said, my son liked detective stories. I myself like detective stories a lot. My favorite authors are Arthur Conan Doyle, and Agatha Christie, and many other Kara Hunter in recent times. So basically, this is a genre I feel excited about, and I feel, as Rupa said, writer, is something that what comes out of from you. So for me, crime and dramatic parts of the crime, that comes from within me. The other thing that comes out from me is crime story or a detective story is basically like a puzzle. You know, so you are, it's a constant game that you're playing with your reader. Like I am saying that this is the killer, I'm thinking this is the killer, and when you are writing, when you are reading, whether you are able to understand who is the killer. And my job is to put lot of red herrings so that you can never understand who is the killer, right? So this is a kind of puzzle that I'm creating for all of you. So it's like a kind of game for me, and that's why I like writing crime genre. Crime is not necessarily all about, you know, gore and murder and blood. It's also a lot of game of puzzle, a game of intelligence, and that's what I think it drew me to the crime genre. So and as I said, that other added incentive was that otherwise I have to think of a story every day for my child. But with the crime genre, it was like I have written for 6 months, and then I can continue reading it to him for the next 1 year. So that's how it started.
The fact that you have to draw from real experiences, and your writing, especially fiction writing, it happens to be amalgamation of reality and imagination. To what extent would you consider your writings autobiographical? And I'm primarily...
It's about the Nizam's Museum in the Purani old city of Hyderabad. In the Nizam's Museum, there are lots of artifacts, very, very expensive artifacts, which are very poorly guarded. Okay, so theft in the Nizam's museum, and this story is about that. So this book actually, what had happened, I was thinking of writing a true crime story. I was tired of writing fiction, so I thought I would write something true crime. So what happened was I went to the then Commissioner of Police, Mr. Anjani Kumar, and he said, why don't you write about the Nizam's museum theft, because that is my most wonderful case. You should write about it. So that's how it had come about. So what has happened is, if you know about the Nizams, Mir Osman Ali Khan was the last Nizam of Hyderabad. So that is in the British India. And if I want to tell you something, I really admired him after doing a lot of research. When I was doing research for this book, he was one of the greatest men as far as I am concerned, because let me tell you some of the juicy stories about him first. What he used to do was, he used to wear a hat which was 35 years old, okay? And he used to wear mud color clothes so that even if they get dirty, you don't need to wash them so many times, And then what he used to do is, if guests used to come, he used to serve them tea and 2 Osmania biscuit. That Osmania biscuit is based from his name basically. So he was like this kind of person, conjuice, and if foreign delegates came to him with cigarettes, he used to take 5-6 cigarettes from them and he used to keep it in his cigarette case. At the same time, he used to use a diamond as a paperweight, which is famously known as the Jacob diamond. Okay, it was a 25 carat or 125 carat diamond. His father regarded it as very inauspicious, so he used to keep it in his Mir Osman Ali Khan's father. I am talking. He thought that this diamond was very inauspicious, so he kept it inside his shoe. This diamond. And when he died, when Mir Osman Ali Khan became the Nizam, he found this diamond inside the shoe of his father. So he began to use it as a paperweight. So there is this person who is like wearing a 35-year-old hat, and at the same time using a Jacob diamond, which is 125 carat diamond, as a paperweight. Okay. So, and who used to serve his guests, whatever kind of guests can come, they would be served 1 biscuit and 1 cup of tea. Number of guests as 10, then 10 biscuits, something like that, But if you think that he was only very conjuice kind of person, you will be totally wrong. You know why? Because 11% of his annual budget he used to keep aside, he used to set aside for education. And that education was available for Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists. At that time, he was a very secular man. Not only that, Hyderabad used to get flooded quite a bit. So at that time, what he did is Himayat Sagar, Osman Sagar. These are the 2 sagars that he has built so that Hyderabad no longer gets flooded. The High Court, the Osmania General Hospital, even the State Bank of Hyderabad, these were all founded by him. Osmania University, he himself designed that Osmania University, and that Osmania University has elements of Muslim architecture, Buddhist architecture, Hindu architecture. So this was Mir Osman Ali Khan, a man of contradictions, and he was the richest man on the earth in the year 1937. It was not Bill Gates, it was not Elon Musk, it was in our own India, the Nizam of Hyderabad, who was the richest man. And there's a Times magazine cover on 22nd February 1937. He was declared the richest man in the world. And you might be wondering from where all his wealth came. All the wealth came from the Golconda diamonds. The Golconda mines, diamonds was discovered there, and it used to be sold all across the world. And he was the sole owner of that, and so he was the richest man, and at that time his wealth was around in today's age it is around $236 billion, which is 1% of the GDP of US. So he was that rich, and you will be amazed to know that even though in 1937, 1940 he was the richest man in the world, all his wealth was gone by the year 1990, and it was all spent by his grandson. His own son he was very disappointed by his son, so he bypassed his own son and he made his grandson Vikram Jha the inheritor of his wealth. So within Vikram Jha for till 19 he became the titular head of the Nizam, because he was given the Nizami position in 1967. So in 1967, because at that time India had already gained independence and all those Nizams and Nawabs and kings and all those things had gone. So he was the titular head. So what happened is he was not very interested in the Nizamiyat, and what he did was he went to Australia and he bought a huge ranch in the outbacks of Australia. And he also had bought a mansion in Perth. And and unfortunately for him, this in Kalabari, the ranch that he bought, and there he created a factory which was all about tractors, cars, and earth movers, and gold mine diggers, and all that thing. Unfortunately for him, that he had employed 1,000 people, but all his money was wasted there, because that business venture did not work. And he was Vikram Jha was educated in the London School of Economics. That tells you something about the person to person. But what I'm trying to tell you here is that the richest man, when he became the Nizam, he was one of the richest person in this world, and he became the poorest man. And when Vikram Jha died, he died in Turkey, as it is called now, in a 2-bedroom apartment. So all the wealth was gone. Now why am I telling you all this? Is because, what had happened is in the year of 1936, the old Nizam, Mir Osman Ali Khan, completed 25 years. So once he completed 25 years, there was a celebration which was held in 1936. In that 1936, from all over the world, people, sent him very beautiful gifts, gold sets, gold diamond sets, and all that. So what he did was, all these gifts that he got, he put it in the Nizam's museum. That is in the old city. It is not as glamorous as the Faluknama Palace. It's not, it's not nothing. If you look at it, it is quite decayed and old. But there are some very fancy pieces inside. And what had happened is, when Osman Ali Khan had, when Vikram Jha had, that $35 million remained there in the NatWest Bank, and the Nizam was defeated by the Indian government in 5 days flat. And then he decided to join the Indian government, and he became the Raj Pramukh. Okay, so this Vikram Jha, when he lost all his money, what he did was he went to court. The government of India, with the help of government of India, he sued the Pakistani government and got this $35 million, and then he kept this $35 million with him. So that's why he wanted to, because the richest man doesn't care about $35 million, but he did, because by that time he had become extremely poor. Thank you.
Tell us something about your access to police documents, your appointments with former Commissioner of Police Anjani Kumar. How were you able to sort of convince them to give you material?
Yeah. So basically, Anjani Kumar was very clear that I am a common person and I should not be given any access to anything as much as possible. But I spoke to all his subordinates, I begged, I cajoled. What they did was they gave me access to all the files, but they said, you go and sit there in that corner, you go and read through all the files and you make your notes. Nothing is to be taken out of this pressing, basically. So at the time, But whatever, so that is the way I had gone through the police files. That was the beginning. After doing that, I went and talked to the various stakeholders. This kind of crime, now let me talk a little about this story. This story is about Nizam's Museum. In the Nizam's Museum, there were some gold, diamond encrusted and emeralds encrusted tiffin box and one saucer and cup and spoon. So what had happened is there were two petty thieves. One of the thieves actually, he was not a thief, he was a welder basically. He was sick and he went to the Darushewar hospital, which was there in the old city. And because there was a large queue, he said, okay, he asked somebody else to stand in the queue for him and to spend the time. That welder, he was a welder that he went to, it was just by chance that he went to the museum, because a welder generally is very incompatible with the museum. But it was his good luck that he was at the right place at the right time, in the sense that when he went to the museum, nobody was around and he was the only person who was looking through all this gold jewelry, and he was thinking very bad things about the Nizams, that I am here starving and these people had so much gold and silver. But whatever, what had happened at that time, because why I am saying he was at the right place at the right time, because at that time the technician had come who takes care of the CC cameras, and he was talking to the curator, and this thief, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to think, he had very sharp ears. So he heard that the CC cameras are not working for a long time. So, and those need to be replaced. So what he did was, he had a very good cousin of him who was lying around in the Nizam's museum. Why don't you go and take care of it? So that's how, so they raided the area and they found, oh okay, security is very lax, especially in the old city. Those of you who have been to the old city, you'll find that there are very little gaps between the buildings and the museums. So they just jumped from one of the adjacent buildings into the museum, went up a ladder. Pictures are there in the book. You can have a look if you're interested. So they went to the museum very easily and they just stole the tiffin box. Luckily for the police, the Anjani Kumar, one of the mason. So what he had done is, there are various ventilators through which one could enter and go and grab the artifacts in the museum. So to mark that, when they raided the scene before their crime, they had made an arrow. And Anjani Kumar, when he saw that arrow, he understood, okay, only a mason can do this kind of arrow, in a concrete. It was very tough concrete and it was a very neat arrow. So he told his team and the elite force of the police force were given this task, because it was the heritage, it was a culture that was stolen, right? So the police commissioner said that this is a work of a mason, and that was the first clue. And after that, the police worked round the clock, and you have to read the book to understand how they caught the thieves. Okay, so the research part is that I went and I talked to all these elite force team members. I went and looked through the files and I understood, and then I wrote the story.
So before I open up the floor to questions from the
before I answer the question, I would just like to say I am doing a book giveaway. So those who are interested, after this session, I'll be there outside. You can come and meet me, and I'd like to do some giveaway of my books. Hello, did you hear me? Oh, yeah. So I'm doing a book giveaway. So if you are interested, you can come and meet me after this session. Okay, I'll be outside. Regarding this, mine is a crime thriller book. Even this book is a crime thriller. I'm very true to my genre. I never deviate. So even though it has elements of history in it, it is still a game of cat and mouse. How the thieves get away, and then how the police follow them. So this is, I think, universally appealing across all ages and all cross sections. So even though the thieves took a lot of risks, I don't take risks.
Okay, so maybe we have time for 2 questions, maybe? Yeah? Any questions from the audience? Yes, here.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I think it's a very general question to Sharmishtha. So, what it is to be being a female crime writer?
Well, female are deadlier. They are supposed to be deadlier, and hell has no fury like a woman's font. You know that phrase anyway. So, and even if you look at empresses, and female empresses are always far more ferocious than the males. So don't take us for granted. And the second thing is that, you know what, it's a lot of puzzles, as I said, it's a lot of puzzle, and it is a lot of also, you know, research. So even though that research should be, you know, it's like salt. It should not be too much and not too much on your face also. But I made a mistake, I put 2 less salt once in one of my books. Like in Fatal Fallout, what had happened in one of my books, it's a Vikramrana mystery. The criminal, what he does, he inserts a tube inside his arms, and he puts another person's blood inside. So whenever the police do a blood test for DNA evidence, he asks them to take it from the wrist where that tube is there, and the fake blood is there. So I got a 1-star rating in Amazon, Goodreads, and anywhere else that reader could find to give me a 1-star. And he said this kind of thing is not possible. I didn't expect from you this kind of thing from you, Sharmishtha. So what I did is my next edition of that book. When I got it printed a second time, I wrote a reader's note, and I gave the link to the Wikipedia page and I said this is a true story, and I got inspired to write this detective story because of this incident.
So I'm getting a notification from the organizers that we just have 0 minutes. Can we invite just one more question? Just one more question. Yes.
Thank you. I'll keep this brief. At the beginning of the session, both of you spoke about your childhood journey. Mr. Mukul, you said you...
For me, it's the same thing. Follow your heart. But the only thing is that you can't make a lot of money by being a writer, for example. I can guarantee you that. So what you should do is you should always have a fallback plan. Make fallback plan, but always pursue what you want to do, really. Because that's the only when something comes from your heart, that's when you give it your best shot.